Are you ready for some football? I know Oakland isn't. Now a word from our sponsor. Antonio Brown is one of the best players I've ever seen. He's also a little, let's say, difficult. He can be a smidge difficult from time to time. So, where to start? Antonio Brown was first traded by Pittsburgh in the offseason around March for a 3rd and a 5th round pick, which, if you're asking this broadcaster, is just plain old disrespectful. And I'm guessing Antonio Brown took it that way. Everything started back a couple of years ago during a team celebration after a big win. Antonio Brown Facebook Live the celebration in the locker room despite the requests of Ben Roethlisberger. Facebook Live? Are you kidding me? How could you betray your teammates with Facebook Live? As we all know, Facebook Live is the worst team killer in the league. And then, a year later, got into it at practice again with Mr. Ben, 2 times accused of sexual assault, Roethlisberger. And of course, this is all unacceptable from a Steelers perspective. How dare Antonio Brown go against the will of your possibly sexually predatory franchise quarterback? After that whole fiasco, and then not going to practice after that, and then not being played in the final week of the season, Antonio Brown decided it was time to move on. So the Steelers traded him to Oakland for chump change. But before that happened, and this is very, very important, before the Raiders traded for Antonio Brown, he did an exclusive interview with Jeff Darlington in which he said this.
There's going to be general managers that want to know that that's not going to happen.
Bro, listen, I don't even need the game. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to prove nothing to anyone. If they want to play, they're going to play by my rules. If not, I don't need to play. The
Raiders traded for AB after this interview. After they saw the interview, or maybe they didn't see the interview. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe the problem is that it's entirely probable that Mike Mayock and John Gruden, 2 guys who are known for just being the burliest of football men, it's entirely possible that they did not see this interview. Yes, the faces of the organization may change, the location of the organization may change, but being incompetent, that is eternally Raider. So AB was in Oakland from March until the beginning of September, and in that time, a lot of stuff happened. Antonio Brown threatened to retire over not being able to wear the helmet that he wanted to. He got fined several times, missed a ton of practice, his foot almost froze off. Got into it with the GM, made Mike Mayock mad somehow. I have no idea how that happened. And then called him a cracker, which I'm allowed to use that word because my diet is still mostly gluten-based, and punted the football and said, "Fine that," in his face. And then they did. They fined him some more and then threatened to suspend him. He then apologized to the team, not Mayock, but the team. Came out with some sort of social media video that included a phone call with John Gruden, and it turns out John Gruden gave approval for his use in that video, which is crazy, but nevertheless happened. He eventually got released. Cost himself $30 million, which to most fans seems like a bad choice. But as Antonio Brown told you before you signed him,
the Steelers probably gave me 5 contracts, including extensions. Almost $100 million and change. I'm $30 million up cash. Like, what do you want to tell me? It don't matter. I don't even have to play. My dad was great. If I retire right now, I think I'm great.
He said this before he was on your freaking team. Before he was on your freaking team. How did you let this happen when he said all this before he was on your team? They released him on Saturday, and in less than 12 hours, he was a New England Patriot. With the Satan's diamond-tipped New England Patriots. Look, I'm not mad, Raiders. Really not. But you couldn't swallow your pride for 8 months, 1 season. I don't know how much longer Tom Brady's gonna play, but you couldn't just for 3 months Look, I understand that dealing with superstars is sometimes difficult, but have you ever seen some of the demands that superstars in other industries make? Justin Bieber demands that he have 10 luxury sedans, a massage parlor on site, and a private jet on demand if he ever wants to leave the country for whatever reason. Christina Aguilera demands that traffic stop so that she is never late anywhere. She requires you as a city to stop traffic so that she can drive from her hotel to the concert site. And she gets it. Christina Aguilera hasn't been popular since 2003, and she still gets that. Rihanna requires that you have a bearskin rug that covers the entire floor of anywhere that she walks while she's in your city. She also requires you to redecorate with the curtains that she likes. Redecorate! Every time, in every city. That's insane. Superstars are crazy. You know what happens when you don't give Guns N' Roses the Skittles that they like? The stars of the world, the actors and the musicians especially. How is this any different? How did you not know beforehand that this was gonna happen? He told you before you signed him. I don't know what you were thinking. Maybe you thought he was going to be like every other diva wide receiver in the history of the league, that he was going to eventually cave like T.O. did, like Randy Moss did, like Chad Ochocinco all eventually did. They all eventually got browbeaten into submission by the system. Antonio Brown did not, and he got absolutely everything that he wanted. If you applied Antonio Brown's antics to a player like Patrick Mahomes, guess what? Patrick Mahomes gets anything that he wants. If he asks for a special kind of helmet that only he gets to wear, guess what? He gets a special helmet that only he gets to wear. Because the Chiefs are not about to let Patrick Mahomes retire. This is the closest that the Chiefs have ever been to being any kind of relevant. If Patrick Mahomes threatened to retire, if he didn't get $60 million a year, they'd figure out a way to make it work. If he asked for all the Skittles in the stadium to be red, and demanded that you not just make red Skittles, but that you go around to all the gas stations in Kansas City. And there are a lot of gas stations in Kansas City. Every single one of them grab all the Skittles packets and then hand pick out every single red Skittle and then put them into bowls all throughout the stadium. And that the GM is the one who had to hand pick all those Skittles out. Guess what? Brett Veach, you better get to picking. Hopefully the entire league has learned a lesson. When you are a reacher and not a settler in this kind of relationship, you need to know it. And also, you better pray that franchise quarterbacks never start behaving like elite level wide receivers. And you'll find out just how much your posturing about your power is about the position Antonio Brown plays instead of the man he is. And if you'd paid more attention to the man he is from day one, guess what? You wouldn't be in the situation you are today. Now, please check out this awesome deal from our sponsor.